One Question is brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996.
Brett, you've done a really excellent job early on in this athletic director search for North Texas of covering the ins and outs of what's happening in Denton. What is your general feeling of the fan base's disposition of this move, and where do you feel like they believe the university should go with the hire?
Well, I think over the last, the course of Villarreal's tenure, and he was there for a long time, it was over 15 years, North Texas made some dramatic steps forward. They got the stadium in place. They got the athletic center in place. There's just a ton has happened over the course of Villarreal's tenure. You got to give them a lot of credit for, including helping get North Texas into Conference USA. This program is just in such a better place now that Villarreal has been there to guide it through that process. And as far as North Texas's fans go, I think there's a lot of appreciation for what he accomplished there. I think that the consternation a little bit is after North Texas got to that level where it was in Conference USA and it had a lot of facilities and things in place that Villarreal worked so hard to get in place, they just haven't been successful in the key major sports over the last 4 years. And that's kind of the hope with North Texas's fans. North Texas only had one winning season in, your three key revenue sports of football, men's basketball, and women's basketball over the last 4 years. So the hope is that with what they have in place, North Texas can get a new AD that comes in, brings some fresh ideas, some fresh perspective, and maybe they can get things headed in the right direction on the field to kind of complement what Villarreal put in place. So I think that's really the hope as North Texas goes forward, is that they can find that person who would have that unique skill set and kind of a unique perspective on North Texas and the challenges it faces that can help move the program forward.
Is there a profile of an administrator, whether it be maybe a senior leader or a deputy AD at a Power 5 school or a rising athletic director at a comparable institution or maybe a rung below UNT? Do you have a sense of what that profile would be that would fit best?
Well, I think you look at the history of North Texas and what's been successful and some of the challenges they would face and some of the ADs that have been there in the past. I think the profile maybe that would fit what North Texas might be looking for, nobody can say definitively what North Texas is looking for except for, the president and the people who are making a choice. I think there's a sense that probably the school, what would be helpful for them is to find an AD who has worked at, a group of 5 program, maybe a program that doesn't have everything at its disposal, that really has to work to build, your fan base, your donor base, your things like that, and go out there and really work hard to get some of those things in place. Because while North Texas has a lot of great facilities, the big challenge for them is to build that fan base and to build that base of support that will help move their programs forward. And that's always been the thing that's been such a struggle. North Texas, I think Houston's study of annual funds and among Division I programs in Texas had them with like 1,100 Mean Green Club members, annual fund members, which was really low compared to some of the other schools in the state. That same study had them down for $800,000 in annual gift contributions, which is pretty low compared to a lot of comparable institutions. And I think that's the challenge that the new person, whoever that is, will face, is to come in and be able to build that kind of wide base of support. And I think probably maybe the person that'd be most equipped to do that would be somebody who was at an institution with similar challenges in terms of trying to build a program instead of maybe an associate AD or an assistant AD at a really big program where it's not, or maybe you don't have those same types of challenges. That's a little bit of the sense I get just from having been around a little bit.
You mentioned the president. What's the likelihood that President Smotrich has some folks in mind? Of course, he came from UNLV just a couple of years ago. Do you think he could already have a personal list that he'll turn to as potential candidates?
Yeah, I think this has been in motion for a little while. If you carefully read the statements that the president has put out, it referenced the ongoing discussions with, Rick Villarreal and university leadership about, the direction of the athletic program, what they can do to get it going forward, what needs to be done. So I think there was probably, I don't think this is one of those things where the president walked in on a Monday and said, hey, why don't we go in a different direction and get a new athletic director here and have Rick, step down and then go in a different direction. I think, there's probably been a lot of thought that went into this. So, yeah, I would imagine that, the president probably has, at least looked around and seen what types of people he'd be interested in. I'd be shocked if he didn't have at least some people that he had, identified that maybe he would want to talk to. North Texas talked about getting somebody in place by the middle of the summer. Well, I mean, you're talking that's the middle of the summer is going to be here before you know it, especially at this time of year where a lot of people in athletic administration around the country are either, taking a little bit of time off or they're winding up their school year athletically. Some teams that are in the postseason in baseball and things like that. So, yeah, I mean, I would assume that he has some pretty definitive ideas of the direction that he would like to go.
And that's today's One Question, brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996. One Question is designed to give D1 Ticker subscribers valuable insights on how executive leaders in college athletics think about key issues on their respective campuses, in their departments, or within their leagues and conferences. One Question is brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996.